All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I know it's been a little while, but back with another one. Got a 66 Chevy Nova from Holder Motorsports. We got to refinish the front end and blend the doors. Now, originally I painted this car back in July of 2021. It is a cherry bomb infrared tinted color, and we're going to have to redo it because it looks like they decided to get rid of the turbo setup and go to a Pro Charger. So unfortunately, none of that can be saved, so we're going to have to actually redo the entire front grille section as well as the color, and we're blending the doors just to make sure everything looks nice and sweet going down the side. So first things first, we're going to put down some gray sealer over the entire front end, and then we're going to come back and we'll talk about that color.
Alright, so I'm using my Wada W400. This is a 1.4 size gun. I'm going to be shooting G5 sealer, which is just a standard gray sealer. 20 psi with the trigger pulled. And the part number for this is all the Nexa Aquabase system, so the actual sealer part number is 3185. Using DT reducer with DT 885. It's not very hot in here today. It's only about 80 degrees, so I'll lay down one good solid coat and move on.
All right, so the front end's ready for color. I've already got it mixed up and in my cup here. Now this color started life as WA252F Cherry Bomb infrared tint coat. Now I'm still using the factory mix for the infrared tint coat. It's a ruby red mix that goes in the clear coat, but the actual base coat formula I did alter to make it unique to this car. So I will put the formula in the description below, but you're not gonna find it in some paint code. It's a custom mix. So now before I actually start putting color on the front end, I'm gonna put some color blender that I've already got in my gun. We're gonna go ahead and put a coat of that on both doors, and then we'll start putting our color on the front end.
Alright, turning on my Luma 3 spray gun light to help me see a little better. I'm shooting my Wada Intech with a 1.3 at 24 psi. And this color blender is actually part number 8999, known as a color adjuster, I believe. But what we're doing is a wet bed technique. It just helps your base coat lay down without having to lay on top of a hard cured paint like clear coat. So it just kind of helps it melt in a little bit. And then now we're switched over, got my first coat of base going on. Same deal, 24 psi. We're going to get one good coat on, about 75% overlap, and then we'll end up with a total of 3 coats. Should give us the right amount of coverage. Now, as you can see, I'm spraying everything in the front end with the color, because there is a few places that are kind of in between where the bumper and the other grille accents and stuff are. Now, normally I would spray everything silver and then tape it all off, spray my color, and then clear coat everything. But with this color, I'm unable to do that because it has that tinted clear. So I'm essentially going to be painting the entire thing, clear coating it, and then we'll resand it to actually do the artwork in the front.
All right, so we're ready for second coat, and we're also going to begin blending the doors.
Alright, so with this first coat being blended on the doors, I'm going to start at the bottom here, and I'm going to keep that angled profile, and I'm just going to keep going back and forth until I just kind of kiss that top corner where it's going to meet the fender, and that's going to be all we need for now. I'll go a little further out in the next couple coats, but I'm trying to keep it very minimal. Alright, so we're laying down the second coat just the same as the first, 75% overlap, nice and wet. And we're going to get all this on here, and I'm going to grab the color light, and we're going to check it with the lights off to see how much coverage we got so far. Also going to move over and check and see how our blend's looking.
Alright, so I got 2 coats on the front end, and I've got 1 blend coat done on each door. So what I'm going to do now is put my 3rd coat on, which will be my final coat. Now I know this because I still have my car that I used a year ago when I painted this car. So I know that I put 3 coats down and then 1 control coat. So the control coat is just to make sure the metallics are straight, make sure there's no blotchiness going on anywhere. So we're going to put that 1 last coat of color on the front end, 1 more blend coat on the doors, and then we're going to come back to our control coat and we'll be ready for clear with that tinted clear coat.
And don't forget to put that tack rag to work, even though you probably tacked it off in the very beginning. Tack it off on the way through your paint job, that way everything's nice and clean when you go to put that clear on. As the 3rd coat making the blend, we're going to be moving a little further out. Alright, now we're ready for the control coat. Now I shoot my control coat at 17 psi with the trigger pulled, and I try to do about an 85 to 90% overlap. And I get off the panel about 16 inches or so. Just want to kind of mist that color on down. Make sure all the pearls and metallics are nice and even and straight.
Alright, so everything's based out. We're ready to put down our tinted clear coat. Now what we're using is the VM4350 Ruby Red Tinter, and we're going to be mixing that into the VC5700 Clearcoat. Now it doesn't use very much of this, as the formula is. What you do need to figure out is how much clear coat you're actually going to need all together, so ready to spray. So this is a 2-to-1-to-1 clear coat. So in the formula, it wants you to add this to just the clear coat, not your reducer and hardener, just the clear coat itself. So being 2-to-1-to-1, I feel like I'm going to need 1200 milliliters of ready to spray clear. So at 2-to-1-to-1, half of that is going to be just the clear coat. So 600 mils of clear coat is what I'm going to add to my cup here, and then I'm going to add 2.1 parts of this. That's all it takes. Now this is an 8-ounce bottle you buy. It only actually comes with 4 ounces in the bottle. It's rather expensive, especially compared to a typical candy. Alright, so there's our 600 milliliters of just clear coat itself. And Now we're going to add 2.1 parts of the ruby tinter. And that's it. Really hardly anything in there. So we're going to mix all that up, and then we'll just add our hardner and reducer, and we're ready to spray. Alright, so we're in the booth here. We've got my tinted clear coat ready to go. Got enough for my first coat. Now when we do this, we're going to be putting 3 solid coats over the front end, and on the doors we're actually going to be blending out the clear coat. So we're not going to put we're not going to put 3 coats over the entire door. We're actually going to put 3 coats in the same manner as which we put our base coat on, and then we're going to finish off from the end of the door on our 3rd coat. We're going to use regular clear coat. And then to top everything off, we're going to add 1 coat of clear over it all. That way we'll have a little barrier so that when we're actually doing any polishing or when we actually re-sand the front end to do the artwork on the front end, we're going to have that thin, that 1 coat of regular clear as a barrier before we would sand into our tinted clear so we don't mess the color up. So 3 coats of tinted clear, 1 coat of regular clear, and then we'll be done with this part and we can move on to the actual artwork next time around.
Alright, using my Iwata WS400 with a 1.3mm tip. This is what I use for all my clear coat, so everything's going to be just like you're spraying regular clear coat. Shoot at 29 psi. And what I'm going to be doing here is starting where I finished my blend. So where my last pass of my base coat was, I like to start there and then work my way forward, versus going the other direction. Since I'm actually trying to blend this tinted clear coat out, I wanted to make sure that I get right to where I can still see where my base coat is, because as you start getting subsequent coats over top of it, you're going to kind of lose that visual. So I know exactly where my base coat ended on this first coat of clear. And now moving to the front end, I'm going to be shooting this just like I'm shooting any other clear coat. It's not as particular as a candy job, so you don't really have to make one solid pass all the way across the entire panel. You can break it up just like I've done here. Now it is a good idea to try to keep that kind of a single pass mentality, especially if you're going down the side of a car, but it really isn't 100% necessary like it would be if you were shooting an actual candy paint. Alright, so time for the second coat. Now this time around I'm going to go exactly where I left off. So make 1 pass right where I began last time. I'm going to work my way forward. And now that I know I've covered my new base coat, now I'm going to go back and work backwards just a little bit. Alright, time for our third coat, final coat of tinted clear. And we're pretty much going to repeat the process of what we've been doing. Gonna go right over where I left off, and on this particular side I went ahead and made my blend a little further out, and then just work my way back forward. Take a good look at it and see how it's looking here in a second. Make sure everything's looking good, and repeat the process on the other side. Alright, so the final coat on the front end is just a rinse and repeat of the last two. I'll do everything pretty much exactly the same. Fit the overlap. Get it all on there real good. Alright, now that all the tinted clear is on, I'm going to mix up just a little bit of regular clear coat just so I can finish out the back end of those doors.
All right, one little thing I forgot to get on camera is when I finished shooting the third tinted coat over everything and I was blending out the door here, I went out, I mixed up my fresh regular clear coat and went ahead and finished off the back ends of the doors.
Alright, so it's time for that final clear coat. Now, as you can tell, my clear coat has a little bit of a red tint to it. I don't bother to clean the gun when I'm doing this. It's not going to make any effect on the color, and so I just went ahead and threw it in the cup, and we're just going to rock it like it is. It's not going to change anything. So we're going to get one good solid coat over everything, and everything will be nice and ready to go for sanding and polishing, or as in the case of the front end, it'll be ready to sand and prep to get that artwork done on the front end.
All right, so there's the finished product. We've got 3 coats of tinted clear over top and 1 coat of regular clear coat. I was shooting that VC5700 on the car. I like that stuff. Lays down real nice for me. Now, this is obviously we got to do the front end, make it look like a real car again. But we had to get the color on there first. Now the doors, everything blended out real nice. I had a little drip right there. I'm gonna have to buff out. Otherwise, everything turned out real good. Now I know when this car first came out, a lot of people wanted to know what the color code was on it, and well, now you know. Everything's going to be in the description if you're looking to do the same kind of color. Like I said, it's based off of the Cherry Bomb, a late model GM color. There's a lot of different factory red tinted or factory candies out there now. And I don't believe, as of this video, the only type they have is a red. I don't believe there's any other color like that that does the same way, where you put a tinter in the clear coat. But it'd be nice if they made some other ones, but for now, just the ruby red tinter to go in the clear coat, and it really brightens up them pearls and that little bit of metallic in there. It really makes it pop pretty good. So this will be the end of this video. Part 2, we'll be doing all the grill work and making everything look like a real car. So hopefully you learned a little something. If you did, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and tap that bell. Y'all take care.